Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope everyone's doing well. So I'm back yet again today with another VC video response. So this is a response to Mercyful Metal, that's Thomas based over in the Netherlands, and he's come up with a really interesting challenge. So he specifically said it's not a thread, but just a challenge where talking about the title tracks of albums. So the challenge is select 10 albums where you think the title track is the best song. So obviously the title track is the track on the album which has the same title as that of the album. So sometimes the track is named after the album title, sometimes the album title is named after the track. It doesn't matter, but the same name. So in honor of that, I'm actually wearing a title track album t-shirt, but incidentally on this Mayhem album, De Mysterious Dom Satanas is not my favorite song. It's one of my favorites, but it's not. But anyway, we'll get into my list of 10. So I'll say it was actually a bit harder than I thought to make choices for this, because when you look at albums, there's two factors involved. One, a lot of albums don't have a title track, for starters. And secondly, there are a lot of albums like this one where I think the title track may be good, but it's not necessarily the best. So I actually had to think about it quite a bit, but I've come up with a good list of 10 in my opinion, because I didn't deliberately do it like this, but it's an eclectic mix of genres. There's some heavy metal, glam metal, death metal, black metal, so hopefully something for everyone. And just before I go any further, you might notice that the lighting's a bit different today. That's because it's really rainy and overcast, so it's kind of Noah's Ark weather outside and it's dark, so I've had to turn on the lights. So hopefully that doesn't affect the picture quality, but anyway, we'll get into it. So these are not in any order, just 10 albums where I think the title track is easily the best. So it's not even in alphabetical order today, I've mixed them up, so I'll just show CDs first and then records. Let's get into it. So my first choice for best title track on an album, Ace Frehley, Trouble Walkin'. So of course everybody knows Ace Frehley, the original lead guitarist of Kiss, the Spaceman, Space Ace. This is his third solo album, because he went under the moniker of Frehley's Comet and Ace Frehley during the 80s. So this is the third album. This one didn't do particularly well, but I think it's underrated as an album. Like, a lot of people write this off, but I think it was actually the second album, Second Sighting, which was not very good at all. But this one is actually excellent. I really like it. So many good songs on here. Like some of my favorites would be Shot Full of Rock, the ELO cover of Do Ya, Five Card Stud is good, and also a Kiss cover of the song Hide Your Heart, which was on Hot in the Shade. And what's the other one I like? Back to School. Yeah, but generally no weak tracks on this album, but undoubtedly my favorite song is the title track, Trouble Walkin', simply because it's the catchiest. Like, if you know that song, it's got a real strut and plod to it, and the chorus with those whoa, like backing vocals, I'm not going to sing because I don't want to make your ears bleed, but it's just incredibly catchy and such a fun song. So like, this is just like hard rock, heavy metal, I suppose you could call it that. But yeah, it's just a really fun 80s album. I really like most of it, but Trouble Walkin' just stands out as the catchiest song, and honestly, even if you've never heard that song, you'll be singing along by the end, as one of my friends did when he heard this song. And in addition to the chorus, which is infectiously catchy, I love the verse vocals from Ace, like especially the opening line, like, out on the streets, there's a lesson learned, you play with fire and you get burned. The way he sings it, eargasm, it's great. Incidentally, he didn't actually write that song. So he wrote most of the songs on here apart from the Kiss one, but Trouble Walkin' was written by Bill someone and Phil Brown. Yeah, I have bad eyesight. But yeah, catchiest song on the album. So that's my first choice, Ace Frehley with Trouble Walkin'. All right, second choice for best song on the album being the title track. This is Agatus with The Weaving Fates. So you may have heard me talk about this album before. This is melodic black metal, originally from Greece, but then they were based in Australia. If you like that Hellenic black metal sound, you'll really love this album. It's very melodic and catchy, and what this album does is it combines melodic Greek black metal with 80s heavy metal, like think Iron Maiden, Peace of Mind and stuff like that, with consummate ease. So this album is just fantastic. And even if you're not really a black metal fan and you like Iron Maiden and 80s heavy metal, you might enjoy this. So many good songs on here. Like, my favorites are probably the first three. So second track is called Era of Tiamat. Third track is Conqueror of Fear. I also like Faustian Call. but undoubtedly the best song on here is the opening track, the title track, The Weaving Fates. Just this galloping melodic track and incredibly catchy rhythms on that song, and just these melodies and these riffs, they're just ingenious. I just can't describe how good they are. And in addition to that, they've got the part, like Esgarth, who's the drummer of this band, he does the narrated part, but when he tells a story like, what is this before me? What is this creature that stands before me? One of earth or born in the deepest lakes of fire? There's these eerie synths in the background, and it sounds so magical and atmospheric. So it really tells a story in an epic way. So it's just fantastic melodic black metal combined with heavy metal. Easily my favorite song on the album, but all of the songs are good. That's Agathos with The Weaving Fates. All right. Okay, coming up next. So some people might say it's predictable that I had to choose this band, and so you probably already know, but yes, now we are looking at Marduk with Dark Endless. So this was their first album, which came out in 1991. And while it is black metal, it's sort of, you can see it crossing over from death to black metal, so it retains a lot from the death metal genre. But what I like about this album is it just has a really raw, heavy and intense sound with excellent vocals, shrieky vocals by Andreas Axelsson, who was the guy with the kind of mid-length hair and the vampiric corpse paint. He really got into it live. But honestly, there's not a single bad track on this album, so it's very hard to choose my favorite. Like, all of them are good. So you've got, you know, Still Fucking Dead, The Sun Turns Black as Night, Within the Abyss, The Funeral Seemed to Be Endless, Departure from the Mortals, The Black, and Holy Inquisition. That may be a close second because that's got a dark atmosphere. But yeah, my favorite song, the title track, Dark Endless, it stands out a bit from the others because it's a bit slower. So is Holy Inquisition at the beginning, but like Dark Endless, the title track, it starts with this dim bass line, and it's very atmospheric, and then when the drums and the guitars kick in, you just want to start mosh this like slow, heavy, doomy riff, and so that groove goes for a while, and then it changes time, shifts into this other really cool riff, you know, when the vocals start like darkness is complete, oh so it burns, just absolutely brilliant, and then it speeds up in the middle, so it's got all sorts of tempos, and then I really like the groovy bit at the end where they say, Father, I'm your seed, forever you I will be. But yeah, just go and listen to this. But like I said, every single track on this album kicks ass in my opinion, but the title track, Dark Endless, stands out because it's a slower tempo and it's got a lot of dark, cold atmosphere, which I really like. So Marduk with Dark Endless. All right. Coming up next, another album where the title track is my favorite. I know I just keep saying it every time, but just to reinforce, in case you're just joining us, welcome back. All right, so the next one, Megaton Sword with Blood Hails Steel, Steel Hails Fire. So first of all, I'll say that is a brilliant title. I could have included this in Metal Mickey's thread about 10 great album titles. It just passed me by. But yeah, Blood Hails Steel, Steel Hails Fire by Megaton Sword, which is a Swiss heavy metal band. They play, it's like the new age of traditional heavy metal. So emulating those, you know, the glory days of 80s heavy metal bands, but it's just fantastic. What I like about this band is, I've mentioned before, the vocals are unique. They're kind of that lower pitch, which King Diamond does. So like not the high shrilly shrieks, but think of, you know, the Mercyful Fate song, A Dangerous Meeting. You know, the first two lines he sings in that, that's what the guy's voice sounds like throughout. So that kind of like sorrowful wail, but like it's really unique vocals. But yeah, the person who put me onto this album was Chris of the YouTube channel Audio Obsession. He's from Canada. I think his channel's he's not doing it anymore, or it's on hold anyway. And I found out he discovered this album through Metal Marty Mac, so the chain of the VC community, but I eventually discovered this, and I'll never forget the first time I put this on. The title track is the opening track, and I was just blown away by the vocals, how it sounded so melancholic and epic. Just absolutely fantastic. You know, like often the first song you hear by a band is the most striking, you never forget it. This was certainly the case, but like this whole album is great. Probably some of my other favorite songs are, I think I've mentioned before, Wastrels and Songs of Victory, and the last track as well. Yeah, but my favorite song, especially the chorus, Blood Hails Steel, Steel Hails Fire, I sing my heart out, you know, alone at home. Thankfully no one has to hear it, but yeah, just brilliant song. So if you like traditional heavy metal in general, just check this band out because I think the vocal style is unique and it's awesome. So yeah, Megaton Sword with Blood Hails Steel, Steel Hails Fire. Again, fantastic title. All right, coming up to the last of the CDs. So another album where the title track is the best song. Motley Crue with Girls, Girls, Girls. So this was actually an easy choice really because in my humble opinion, this is not a very good album. Like, and that probably sounds really arrogant, like, oh, this armchair critic, what does he know? How's my band going? But honestly, yeah, I like all of the 80s Motley Crue albums, but in my opinion, this album is the weakest of the four. A lot of people would say Theatre of Pain is, but I actually like that album. It's got a lot of really catchy songs and good riffs. This is not a bad album. Just the problem with this album to me is that it contains a lot of okay tracks. You know, like they're not terrible, but just okay. And I think a lot of them are kind of filler. But there are two absolutely brilliant songs on this album. So they are the first two tracks. The opening track, Wild Side, is awesome. But yeah, track 2 is the title track, Girls, Girls, Girls. It's just, the first time I heard that song, way back when, I always loved it. It's just so full of energy and fun. You know, it starts off with the revving motorcycle and then, ding, you know, when it kicks in with the chord and like the woo, and like, that rhythm, and then it kicks off into that riff. Just so fun. Such an awesome, catchy riff. Vince's vocals sound fantastic on this. Like this is when he was in his prime. And yeah, the chorus is very catchy, very easy to sing along to. Again, if you've never heard this particular song, you'll be singing along to it by the end. And I also like the bridge part in the middle, you know, like, have you read the news in the Soho Tribune? But yeah, just so catchy and so fun. I love that song. And I like the guitar solo at the end. Fun fact for you, the guitar solo at the end of that song, you know how it fades out? That was not an engineer's decision. It was actually Mick so drunk when he was playing it that he fell off the stool. And on that note, this album came out when the band was in the peak of their drug and alcohol fueled debauchery. So it might explain why the album is kind of mediocre, but like considering the state they were in, I think it's brilliant. But yeah, Girls, Girls, Girls is my favorite song. There's two other songs which I don't mind. They are, what are they? Bad Boy Boogie. That's okay, even though I don't like the word boogie, I've mentioned that before. Like, it's got that quintessential Motley Crue sound. And the other song I like is 5 Years Dead, but that's funny. 5 Years Dead, the chorus sort of plagiarizes the chorus of Girls, Girls, Girls. Like, same rhythm, same vocal melody. Instead of saying Girls, 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 they're saying 5 Years Dead. So it's like an inferior version. But yeah, so about 4 songs that I like on this. There's a decent cover of Jailhouse Rock as well, but undoubtedly the best track, Girls, 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 by Motley Crue. All right, so that concludes the CDs. Now we will go into the records or vinyl. All right, so another album where the title track is my favorite, Alcatraz with Dangerous Games. So you might have heard me talk about this album before. I love this band. It's sort of, how would you describe it? AOR rock. It's heavy metal, so it was formed by Graham Bonnet, who was previously in Rainbow after he replaced Dio. So it's kind of a Rainbow-esque band. So like, kind of like progressive metal in a sense, and very AOR, very quintessentially 80s. I think that's why I love it, because I grew up in the 80s, so that 80s sound always appeals to me. And this album is just the epitome or the embodiment of 80s, honestly. As I've said, my favorite album by these guys is Disturbing the Peace. I used to think it was this one, but this one has a lot of filler or, you know, average tracks, I think, but some brilliant ones. Like, it opens up with a kick-ass cover of It's My Life, originally by the Animals. I also love the song Undercover. That's such an 80s atmosphere in that song. Also, Ohio, Tokyo, Double Man, all good stuff, but undoubtedly the title track, Dangerous Games. Just such a brilliant song. Like, it's got a foreboding atmosphere with a lot of keyboards and synth, because this is a kind of synth rock band. So, as I've said before, it sounds like the soundtrack or the film score to an 80s movie or Miami Vice or something. But yeah, so it starts off forebodingly, but then the chorus is just so upbeat and strutting and incredibly 80s in atmosphere, and I just love it. Like, very easy to sing along to, again, strutting along to that song. And I like the part where Graham does the vocal interludes, like that part where he says, in between Dangerous Games, what does he say? You're messing around with me. That's just an eargasm. So absolutely love this song. So while this album does have a lot of filler tracks, it is definitely worth it for the title track alone, among others. So Alcatraz with Dangerous Games. All right, up next, Dark Funeral with The Secrets of the Black Arts. So remember, this almost made my top 10 for 10 great album titles, but not quite. But in terms of the music, I think this is the best song on the album. So that may be a controversial opinion. Of course, Dark Funeral, the biggest Swedish black metal band probably, apart from Marduk. Now, a lot of people would probably say their favorite song from this is My Dark Desires. That was a big hit, even though it wasn't released as a single. And this also contains other songs from, another song from the self-titled album, which is Shadows Over Transylvania, fantastic song. Yes, but it's the opening track after the intro. The intro is The Dark Age Has Arrived. The Secrets of the Black Arts. It just really sets the tone for the album, which is just cold, haunting, dark, Scandinavian black metal, and it's absolutely brilliant. What I like about Dark Funeral's guitar sound is sometimes it sounds like there's a dim synthesizer in the background, but actually no, they create all this atmosphere with the guitars, and they do that to fine effect on the song The Secrets to the Black Arts. And my favorite part is the main, or the bridge riff in the middle, you know, the part where it's just full of melody and it's so catchy. To give you an idea, you know, where the lyrics are saying, Lord, bring us damnation, you know, that, look, awesome stuff. And that riff is just killer. So my other favorite tracks on this album would probably be, if I had to choose, The Fire Eternal and Blood Frozen, because that's got a unique atmosphere, co-written by Black Moon. But if I had to choose like the quintessential and the best track for me, undoubtedly the title track, Dark Funeral, The Secrets of the Black Arts. And there was a good video clip for that song as well, so check it out. Okay, up next. Now this one, I've seen a couple of other people choose this, and with good reason. By the way, guys, I've been watching loads of people's responses, so even if I don't comment, sorry about that, but I've been enjoying your responses. But anyway, this is my next choice. Megadeth with Peace Sells, But Who's Buying? Iconic thrash and speed metal album from the 80s. Yep, so the title track is actually, so the full album title, Peace Sells, But Who's Buying? The title track is abbreviated to Peace Sells, but I think that's acceptable. Yeah, again, this is among my favorite Megadeth albums. I used to say my favorites were this one and Rust in Peace. Undoubtedly now it is Rust in Peace, because for me, this album, the first 5 tracks are brilliant, and then it falls off a bit at track 6. Not to say those last 3 tracks are bad, but it's just, it's hard to live up to the brilliance of the first 5 tracks. So yeah, awesome songs to start this album, like Wake Up Dead, a classic. The Conjuring is good as well. Devil's Island, one of my favorites. And of course, Good Morning Black Friday. But undoubtedly, the title track is the best. Peace Sells, just such an iconic Megadeth song. Like, it starts off with that funky bass line and then the dan, dan, and that blistering guitar solo before it launches into that very 80s American thrash metal riff, which is just kick-ass with those spoken words which are spat out over the top. Also great sing-along chorus. Awesome solos in this song. And I like in the video clip when they're playing that main riff, like the 80s lineup where they're all like banging their heads. Fucking awesome. Yeah, so yeah, it is just, as the most iconic track on the album, I would have to say Peace Sells by Megadeth. So there you go. All right, 2 more to go. Up next, Mortician with Zombie Apocalypse. So Mortician, brutal death grind from New York. This is their filthy EP, Half an Hour of Delicious Death from 1998. What a brilliant album it is, or EP I should say. 10 tracks on this and they're all fantastic. Like, everyone knows Mortician's sound, you know, like guitars tuned down as far as they can go, pummeling distorted bass and low guttural vocals, all accompanied by this 250 BPM drum machine. It's awesome. But yeah, a lot of good tracks on this. You know, and that's the thing about Mortician, in addition to being the most brutal band on the planet, in my humble opinion, people forget that Mortician is also very dark. Like, you listen to songs, some of the songs on House by the Cemetery, like World Domination, incredibly dark with that intro. But that's why I chose the title track on this one. Like Zombie Apocalypse, it starts with that sample from Dawn of the Dead. You know, when there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth. And then it launches into that fat, sludgy, heavy, plodding riff, which is just so catchy. Really, it's like the soundtrack to zombies walking the earth. And maybe that's probably the desired effect, because that's what the song is about. And yeah, it's just kick-ass, like just heavy, sludgy, incredibly catchy. and then they've got a blast beat section in the middle. But yeah, what I like about Mortician as well is just their simplicity, but it's such a good song. Probably my other favorites on this would be Devoured Alive, also Incinerated. They do a good cover of Slaughter's Fuck of Death, and Blood Harvest as well, but undoubtedly the best track for me, the title track, Zombie Apocalypse by Mortician. God, 20 minutes in, how do I ramble on so much? Anyway, you'll be pleased to know this is the last one. Final choice, Saxon with Denim and Leather. What a fantastic album. I just love this album. I think I mentioned recently on Instagram, whenever I put this album on, it just puts me in a good mood because the songs are fantastic, so catchy, so rocking, just puts me in a good mood. And pretty much every song on this album is brilliant, so it was hard to choose. Also, I was going to choose Wheels of Steel, the other Saxon album, another Saxon album, but it occurred to me on that album my favorite song is just by a slight fraction is 747 Strangers in the Night. But on this album, it's undoubtedly Denim and Leather, just because it's an iconic, anthemic heavy metal song. You know, it's all about, you know, the fans and the band, you know, their collaboration, and, you know, everyone can relate to that. But in addition to that, like, the riff is just so catchy. The chorus is very anthemic, and then later on they have the backing vocals to reinforce that. I also love the bit in the song where they introduce all the elements of the band, you know, like when he says, you could play the guitar or smashing up the drums, maybe you could learn the bass. You can always be a singer in front of a band like me, and each instrument has a cameo. I really like that part. But yeah, just such a great catchy chorus, and it's, in a way, it sort of makes you proud to be a metal fan to hear that song. So I just love it. Always puts a smile on my face. So yeah, great band, great album, and fantastic title track. That's Saxon with Denim and Leather. All right, so they're my 10 choices, guys. So remember, I do understand this is in my humble opinion, so if you disagree, that's fine. You know, tell me your favorite songs from those tracks or your favorite title tracks. But yeah, I understand this is all subjective. But for me, yeah, these are 10 albums where, in my opinion, the title track is the best song on the album. Talking too much, I'm gonna stop there. All right, so thanks a lot, Thomas. By the way, if you haven't checked out Thomas's channel, I'll leave a link in the description. He's a great guy, and he talks about a lot of traditional heavy metal and thrash metal, collects a lot of OG presses, and he also made a video recently where he renovated his record room, you know, did it all himself, complete DIY, all the painting and everything. It was so efficient, clean, and he made it look so easy, so I admire practical people as well. But yeah, he's got a fantastic channel, and he really knows his metal stuff, so go and check him out. So Thomas, I hope you enjoyed my video, and everyone else, I hope you enjoyed it too. Thanks for your continued support, guys, and I hope you continue to watch. If you're new, please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. All right, so I'll be back again soon with another video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.